Hello, this is part 4 in a series on Master Server Toolkit. This is going to cover deploying to a Linux server. What we're going to need to do is update the code that's in the repository that we've been working on the past few videos, and I'll show it on the screen here. The code that we've been working on is here in GitHub as MST demo 1. I've created branches for these different pieces, but now I've created a new branch that's going to be MST4, and I haven't pushed that yet, but it will be available after this video. So, um, excuse me. So we have builds that uh, we've added for this app builds, and it does it copied an existing builds configuration script from the master server toolkit demos, but now we need to convert that to support Linux. And the backing build script here is app builder, and that is located in editor app builder. Now, yeah, I could like go and add new methods inside this app builder class, but I think I think to make it a little bit easier to compare what's needed between Windows and Linux, I'm going to just copy this into a new class and then update it for Linux. And then if somebody wants to compare in VS Code text compare, they can see exactly what's going on there. So what I'm going to do is create a new script. I'm going to call it Nix App Builder. Double click to open it up in Visual Studio. Okay, now that it's open in Visual Studio, I'll bring it over. And as we can see here, it is a sibling to the original app builder. And I don't quite like not having namespaces in Unity. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to just copy this whole thing. As a matter of fact, I'm going to just copy the usings as well. And delete, paste. No, guess I'll copy the Nix app builder name and paste it over my app builder. Okay, great. We have a Nix app builder, which is basically an exact copy of our original app builder. But what we want to do is probably, uh, well, obviously we need to update it. First things is we need to make these tools, these build tool options unique. So I'm gonna add a little, I guess maybe a subdirectory, or maybe I'll make these be, this is the prefix, by the way, of how these different options get on there. So I'll do app builds Nix, and it should update, and we'll have two entries on our tool. Yeah, so we have app builds and app builds Nix. And now that I'm thinking about it, I think I'll go ahead and update the original app builder as well and make it app builds win. Okay. So now, for Linux, um, we're wanting to deploy deploy the master and spawner and the room build to Linux. So that means we need to build those for Linux. Now here we see a build room for Windows headless. Build room for Windows. I guess I'll go ahead and rename these for what our purposes are. Build room for Linux. And here I'll rename this one as well. Build room for Linux headless. So let's see. That's taken care of. We'll just walk on through the code here and make the relevant changes. So let's see. If I keep going, build options. Okay, so here's one thing that I was looking for is this build target, and here it's standalone Windows 64. So we want to get kind of like the analogous for this particular build target. We want to change this to whatever our Linux target will be. And so if I go and F12 into here, let's take a look and see what our options are. We have quite a few. I'm just going to search alone for this document and see if there's a standalone Linux. So we have a standalone OS X. Okay, we have a standalone Linux. That looks like a likely suspect. And then, oh well, actually, this one is obsolete. Well, let's go. And standalone Linux has been removed in 2019.2. So let's keep going. Okay, looks like standalone Linux 64 is what we want since we're replacing the standalone, excuse me, Windows. So let's go ahead and go back over here to our Nix app builder. And what I'm going to do is do a Control H and see if I can just replace all of these with standalone Linux. See what happens. Okay, so now we have replaced all of our standalone Windows with standalone Linux. So find all. Okay, so here we go. Now, what's kind of interesting at this point is, I mean, we're building with a build target of standalone Linux. However, we're naming our executables, but I guess in Linux world, we just call them binaries. So this little .exe is gonna be confusing for anybody to see it in Linux world. And I think Master Server Toolkit has some documentation on doing Linux deployments, and there's like a convention maybe, or I think it's like x86 or something, but let's see what naming convention they're kind of using. So uh, deploying a server on Linux. Okay, great. So what do we have here? Okay, so instead of a .exe, we're just doing .x86 underscore 64, which seems reasonable to me. So I'm just going to replace these .exe with this other extension that kind of describes what kind of bitness this this build is. So let's take a look and look at all .exes in this file. Okay, we have quite a few. So let's just replace those .exes with x86-64. Okay, good. We updated our extensions to be more Linuxy or Linux-like or something. So what's next? So now we have a spawner that's going to be built with, well, actually, we need to probably update how our builds get output. So right now, so that way we can build Windows and Linux alongside each other without them competing or conflicting. So right now we have this path combine builds app room. So that's where that's going to be. The build artifacts are going to be placed. So let's update this to be a bit more friendly to the Windows, coexist with it, right? So builds app room. So I'm going to say maybe we just do uh, Nix as a subdirectory, um, and then update the Windows one later. So builds app Nix, builds app Nix again, um, builds app Nix again. Let's keep going. Okay, I think we got it, but here's something that I was thinking about the spawner for Windows. It tries to determine the path for the room, so that way it can spawn it. So it's going to be looking in builds app Nix. Um, and the path combine is going to use the Windows backslash. So I'm remembering this from when I implemented it for my own stuff a little while ago. So I'm just going to do a quick replace here. So we're going to find backslash and replace it with forward slash. Oops. And maybe I need to do a forward. No, something's wrong here. Oh, I can't. How is this? Can I just do a? It's probably mad because it's an escape character of some kind, and now it's just all messed up. So we're looking for a backslash. Since a backslash is an escape character, got to do the backslash and replace it with a forward slash. Yay! Okay, so that should take care of the slashes. This will still put like a C drive forward slash. Maybe we'll take a closer look at the output and fix that here in a little bit. But anyhow, we'll leave that as, I'll bookmark it and come back to it in a sec. So we have updated our build output directories. We've updated our uh, build target. So let's see if this works. All right, so I just realized something. Since I'm just demonstrating a server deployment, I don't need to build a client Linux um, build. But anyway, at least this shows that it built without error. And I'm going to go ahead and trigger a master server and spawner Linux build. Okay. And finally, I'm going to trigger a room Linux build. All right, great, we got the room. So one thing I would like to check is the application config for the master server and spawner. Okay, so it correctly updated the executable path. However, these are still not being replaced. I wonder what's going on. Let's take a look. Okay. Maybe I only did it in one place. Yeah, I need to do it in both places. So I'll I'll copy this. This is for just the spawner. And really I need to update this while I'm thinking about it. Build spawner for Linux. But yeah, we'll go over here to this one and go room exe path, update it, and actually I'm also missing the little subdirectory specification here of Nix, so we'll do that too. Um, Also, so when I build this again, it's probably going to look like that. So now what I probably want to do on these is trim off that C colon so that way we're not using any Windowsy stuff. So let's see. Let's go ahead and do another replace here. We'll be looking for this little C /, and then just it's going to be replaced by a root /, and then we'll do the same down here. Okay, so that's our quick and dirty updates for Linux. I'm going to rerun the master server and spawner builder to confirm that the changes work. Okay, it finished. Let's take a look. Okay, it's looking good. Assuming we deploy our room into this path, the spawner should find it. Okay, so now what's the next steps? We have our builds. Now what we want to do is probably provision a Linux server to deploy this to. So let's do that. Okay, to provision a Linux server to deploy to, I'm going to use Vultr. So I already created an account and put my credit card number in there and everything. So now I'm ready to deploy a new server. So to do that, I'm going to click Deploy New Server. And I'm basically just going to find the cheapest thing to use because this is development. So this $2.50 a month cloud compute works just fine for me. And additionally, I can just use regular performance CPU and storage technology. As for server location, I'm in Central Time, so I'm just going to pick a a server location that's also Central Time to, in case I'm writing any logs, I don't have to worry about time zone and trying to figure out what timestamp the log is versus what time I'm in and all that. Just makes it simpler for me. Now, as for server image, I'm going to want to use Linux. It's a lower cost server solution than Windows. And for this particular video, I'm going to use Ubuntu. And Ubuntu 22.0464. I suppose we could try uh, these others up here, but honestly, I've already tested 22.04.64, so I'm going to go ahead and use that. And for server size, well, again, cheapest. I'm gonna say no thanks on the NVMe. I don't really need that. And server backups, I'm going to click no. This is just a throwaway server, so I'm disabling auto backups. And I don't need IPv6 at this time, so I'm going to uncheck that. And now we got our server at $5 a month. That's pretty affordable in my opinion. So I'm going to name this server just MST Demo 1 Nix. And I'm going to go ahead and deploy it. I'm going to let that spin and I'll edit out all that lag time. Okay, well, it says it's running. So let's go ahead and click on this link here and see what it looks like. Well, we have this warning that it's still maybe finishing installing. So it says here I can try to ping it. If it doesn't, I can view the console. So I'll just go ahead and click to view the console. I'll bring that over. So I'm going to go ahead and try to ping this IP address that it's showing me down here. So let's see. So 149.28125.196. It's already pinging. Great. Okay, so I guess we can go ahead and try it out. Maybe it still has this warning. Maybe if I refresh, that warning will go away. Well, this has been sitting here for a little while. I'm going to go ahead and try connecting to it using WinSCP. Now, WinSCP is a Windows application that's been around for years and years, and it allows you to do similar stuff to kind of like FileZilla. I'm just using it because I'm used to it, and it seems to have a bit more features than FileZilla. So I'm going to try to connect to this server, even though I have this warning over here telling me it may not be ready. So I'm going to click New Site. And for this, I believe Ubuntu, this version at least, comes pre-configured to accept SCP connections. And for the host name, I'm going to use the IP address that's down here. So copy that, I'll paste it in there. Port is 22, it should be fine. Username is the username down here, which is root. And I'll type that in. And then password, well, we'll just copy our password. Paste that in. Click save. I'm going to go ahead and save my password. Not recommended here, but hey, this is development. Who cares? I'm going for convenience. So now that I have that saved as a profile, I'm going to go ahead and double click it to connect to it. Or, well, I guess I'll click login maybe. Okay, so since this is the first time I'm connecting to this remote host, I'm presented with a like a key or certificate or whatever that's trying to say, hey, do you trust this? Is this legit? And since I know it's legit, I created it. I'm gonna say yes. Let's go ahead and say it's legit and accept that prompt there. Okay, so now we're looking at our local file system on the left-hand panel and our remote file system on the right-hand panel. Now, um, what we'll want to do is copy from local to remote. Now, the builds that we have, they are located, where are they located? On my C drive? Yes. So we built stuff in as a subfolder of app in this little Nix folder. Yeah, my previous tutorial on doing the Windows stuff, I need to clean that up, but whatever. So we're in this Nix folder. This is what we want to deploy. And if we take a look, the configuration for the master and spawner, it's going to look for a room at this location. So let's go ahead and just mimic that directory structure in our remote server. So that way we can simplify things and not have to worry about changing this path when we go to deploy. We just kind of keep it the same. So I'm going to go ahead and go up one level, well, up one level, and then I'm going to create a new folder, or new directory rather, call it Unity Projects, and in there, the next folder we need to create, or directory, we're in Linux, so new directory is mstdemo. Next directory is builds. And after that is Nix, or app. Yeah. And then finally, Nix. Okay. Now that we have that set up, we'll go ahead and navigate into the Nix area. So we're at Unity Projects, MST Demo Builds App Nix, Unity Projects, MST Builds App Nix, and we're ready to start copying. So I'll go ahead and upload this master and spawner. All right, now what we want to do is upload our room. Okay, so now that we have these uploaded, I just remembered something. We need to update the configurations with the new server's IP address. So I'm going to copy that to my clipboard. We'll just do that now. We'll do it on the remote server. We'll just use a feature of WinSCP, which just lets me edit a configuration just right here. So right click, select edit, and now I will replace our local home IP of 127.0.0.1, whoops, with our server's IP address. I'll do it for both master IP and room IP. Since these rooms will be spawned right on the same server as the master for this particular configuration, I'm just using the same IP. If I was spawning it on another server, well, obviously the room IP would be different, right? But everything's on the same server for now, so it keeps it a little bit simpler. So I'm going to save, Close out of that editor. Now we need to update the configuration for room. Right click on the application config, edit, and again, replace these two IP addresses for room and master. Whoops. Save. And while we're thinking about it, I might as well edit the local client config. Okay, and we're good. Now, the next thing I believe we need to do is, oh, excuse me. Now, the next thing I believe we need to do is open some ports, because these servers and game rooms and clients, they're all going to be connecting on different ports. And to do that, we need to specifically open a few different ports so that way these can communicate. Because by default, these servers, they're not going to allow just any unsolicited messages to come across on any port. So that's just security, basic security stuff, right? So let's go ahead and open up these ports. So if you notice those in those config files, there's like port 7777 and port 5000 being used. So we'll open those. And to do that, we can go to our Vultr dashboard for our server, and we can click View Console, which I've already clicked that, and here, now the text is rather small to see, for me at least. Maybe I can zoom that in a little more for the video. Let's see, maybe I can just, yeah, that might be a little bit better. Okay, so here we're prompted for a login, which here it's just root. And the password, well, copy that password from here. I'll go and paste it, but I'm going to paste it by using this clipboard feature. Okay, now we're in. Okay. I hate this blue uh, color on here. It's kind of hard to read for me, but whatever. So what we need to do is open these ports, right? So the command to do that is UFW allow and then the port. So I'll go ahead and type that in. So UFW allow, and then the port will start with 5000. And then we'll add UFW allow 1500. I believe that's like the default room port. And finally, we'll do UFW allow 7777. I think that's another room port that we're using somewhere. So, okay, now that we have those three ports added, we can close this. Well, actually, I think we need this open if we're going to run this. But actually, now that I'm thinking about it, we need to make these binaries executable. Now you can go and you can be, an elite hacker and do chmod, chown, or whatever, and add the make the whatever file executable. But I'm not trying to impress anybody here, so I'm just gonna click. I'm just gonna right click on this room binary and just use WinSCP to do it. Go down to properties, And here we can see it's not executable by anybody. So I'm just gonna like open that up to be executed by anybody. Who cares, right? This is dev. So we got that done. And then same goes for um, the master and spawner. So right click, properties, executable, click done. And now we can see, you can see those rights over here in this column of what they have for these files as well. Okay, so the next thing to do is we want to actually run our master and spawner. And to do that, we'll need to go to our Linux terminal. We'll navigate to that. Where am I? pwd root. Okay, so, whoops. cd slash. All right, there we go. cd unity. Whoops. un. Okay, Unity projects. cd mst. What? Oh, it's case sensitive. Okay, cd builds tab. cd, well, where am I? List. cd app list. cd unix. I guess I could have just typed it all out, but whatever. Okay, so now I need to get into my master and spawner. Okay, so I want to, I think it's dot slash. You know what? It's been a while since I ran this in Linux. I don't know if there's a special flag or anything I need to do here, but I think master server toolkit has a documentation page we can check. So let's take a look at that. Search the site. Deploying a server on Linux. Great. So that's what I'm looking for. Here they're just kind of talking about an alternative way of getting the files on there, but we just use WinSCP. Midnight Commander. Well, we don't need that, I don't think. Let's see. Getting permission. Oh yeah, here's our sudo chmod to make it executable. I'm just wanting to start it, so I'm going to just run it using a dot slash master server and spawner and see if that works. Okay, well, looks like it worked. It's spawner successfully created and stuff. There were some errors up there, but I'm going to leave that alone for now. So now what we need to do is test it and see if we can connect using our local Windows client. So, oh, I edited the wrong, I wasn't, so earlier in WinSCP, I edited in the Linux IP into my Linux client, but I'm not going to use the Linux client. I'm going to use my Windows client. So backing back up, I already have a Windows client built. So I'm going to go ahead and edit that instead. And here's my Windows client using the previous videos server IP address, but I'm going to paste that over to our Linux server. Click Save. And now let's see if this actually works. Oh my goodness, it worked on the first time. I'm good. I'll tell you that right now. Okay, so I'm gonna just for grins, um, I'd like to see the logging. So yeah, it looks like. Can I go? No, goodness. Need to figure out how to make this scrollable. Whatever. I see extra logging here, so I see that it's. I'd like to see something just other than the stack trace, but whatever. So we have one connected to our server, and that's the server IP that we're trying to connect to, and it's showing that we're connected to it, so it's great. So what I'd like to do is just start another client, Windows client. Sign in again. Okay, now we have our two clients, and let's create a new game room. And we'll join it. Okay, we joined the game room, walking around. So now let's get our other client to join it. Okay, now we see the other dude. Okay, we're good. Okay, I think this concludes this tutorial. I'm going to check my notes to see if I needed to talk about anything else. No, I'm gonna say we're good for this tutorial. Anyway, so best of luck with getting your implementation of Master Server Toolkit started.